The gas station was nearly empty. I remember watching her from the edge of the curb, clutching a warm bottle of apple juice and wondering if she'd come back with the candy bar she promised. She never did. Back then, I was 19. Old enough to know something was wrong, but still too young to believe it was real. I waited on that curb for what felt like an hour, the sky darkening behind me, the neon lights flickering above. A part of me kept expecting to hear the engine again. To see her brown sedan pull up and her window roll down, casual as ever. Maybe she'd laugh, say it was a joke. Or that something came up. But instead, a woman inside the station noticed me, asked if I was okay. And when I couldn't answer, she called the police. That night, I slept in a social services van. The seatbelt pressed against my shoulder all the way to the temporary home. I didn't cry. I just stared out the window. Somewhere deep down, I already knew she wasn't coming back. No one ever told me why. Not then. Not later. Not after the paperwork was signed or after I legally emancipated at 21. The reports just said she had disappeared. Left no trace. I built my life on that silence. Today, I live in a different world. One with clean kitchens, a soft bed, and people who actually come back when they say they will. My husband, Ian, runs his own consulting firm. We met 6 years ago, got married in a small ceremony with no parents on my side. That wasn't something I had to explain. People just assumed. Our daughter, Lena, turned 2 last month. She says, "Mama," like it's the safest word in the universe. I make sure she never waits for me in any store, anywhere, ever. I thought that part of my life was buried. Until this morning. Ian was in the shower, Lena was napping, and I was sorting through mail at the kitchen island. There was one envelope. No return address. Just my name in soft cursive. Carla Reed. I opened it, expecting a flyer or maybe a wedding invite from someone I barely knew. Instead, it was a single card. Inside, just one line. "I'm sorry. Please call me Mom." I didn't move for several minutes. Just stood there, barefoot on the tile, the sound of the shower still running in the background. She was alive. And she knew where I lived. And I had no idea what to do with that. I didn't call. Not that day. Not the day after. I left the card in the drawer under the coffee machine, right next to the extra filters and expired coupons. Ian didn't see it. I didn't tell him. What was I supposed to say? "Hey, remember that woman who abandoned me at a gas station when I was 19? She sent me a card." No. I couldn't explain that without explaining everything else. But the weight of it stayed. It sat behind my ribs, pressed at the back of my mind while I bathed Lena, while I answered emails, even while we went out to dinner with friends that weekend. Her name wasn't on the card, but my body recognized it anyway. 4 days passed. Then, on a Tuesday evening, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I never answer those. But something in me, something I can't even name, told me to pick up. So I did. There was a pause before anyone spoke. I could hear soft static. A breath. And then, "Carla." I didn't respond. I froze. "It's me," she said quietly. I don't expect you to say anything. I wanted to hear your voice." Her voice was older. Slower. But it was hers. I recognized the edge of it, the almost singing lilt at the end of a sentence, the kind of tone you remember even when you try not to. I still didn't say anything. "I know I'm the last person you want to hear from," she said, her voice cracking. "But I've thought about you every single day." That made something inside me twist. "I don't want anything from you," she added quickly. If there's even the smallest chance you'd let me explain." I hung up. Not because I was angry, but because I was terrified of what I might say if I didn't. I stood there in the hallway, holding the phone to my chest, trying to breathe quietly. Lena was asleep. Ian was working late. I was alone in our perfect, quiet house. And I had never felt so thrown off balance in my life. The next day, she texted. "There's a little cafe near the old courthouse. You liked their cinnamon rolls. I'll be there Friday at 10 a.m. You don't have to come. But I'll be waiting." I stared at the message for hours. I could ignore it. Block the number. Pretend the card never came. Let her voice fade again into the past where it belonged. But I couldn't stop seeing 19-year-old me, sitting on that curb, knees scraped from the gravel, pretending I didn't care. That girl deserved answers. Even if I didn't know what I would do with them. I got there early. Not because I was eager, God no. But because I didn't want to walk into a room where she was already sitting, already watching. I wanted to see her first. The cafe was exactly as I remembered. Small, quiet, slightly dated. The same checkered tablecloths. The same soft jazz humming from the ceiling speakers. The cinnamon roll display case still fogged with condensation. I sat near the window, facing the door. My fingers trembled a little as I wrapped them around the coffee cup. 10 o'clock came. Then 10:05. And then she walked in. I didn't recognize her at first. She was thinner. Hair grayer, pulled into a simple twist. Her eyes were sunken, her posture uncertain. Like she was constantly bracing for something. But as soon as her eyes met mine, something clicked. Not in a warm, sentimental way. More like a jolt. She walked over slowly. Didn't sit until I nodded. "Hi," she said, barely above a whisper. I nodded again, keeping my expression neutral. She looked around nervously, like she thought I might bolt. "I didn't know if you'd come," she said. I didn't answer. The silence between us was heavy. Not dramatic, just deeply uncomfortable. "I won't take much of your time," she continued carefully. "I know I don't have any right to be here. I thought maybe, after all these years, you deserved to see my face. Hear it from me." "Hear what?" I asked. My voice was flat. Controlled. She winced slightly. "Everything." She reached into her purse, slowly, like she knew sudden movements might trigger something, and pulled out a small notebook. Worn. Spiral-bound. She set it on the table, pushed it slightly toward me. I didn't touch it. "I wrote down everything I remembered," she said. "From before. From after." After. That word made my stomach tighten. "You could have called sooner," I said, my voice low now. "Or sent a letter. Or come to the group home." "I know," she said, eyes down. "But I didn't think I deserved to." That made me angry. Not rage. Something colder. Controlled. "You're not the one who gets to decide what you deserve," I said. She looked up at me then. Eyes glassy, but not yet crying. "I was sick," she said quietly. "Back then. I mean really sick. Mentally. I didn't even know what I was doing half the time. And when I got better, I was so ashamed, Carla." I froze. No one had called me that name in that tone in over a decade. "I thought you'd be better off without me. I thought if I showed up again, I'd ruin whatever life you were trying to build." I didn't know what to say to that. I still don't. I stared at her. At the lines around her mouth, the careful makeup, the subtle trembling in her hands. She looked like someone who had rehearsed this meeting in her head 1,000 times, and still knew it wasn't going to go the way she wanted. The waitress came and refilled our coffees. My mom thanked her gently, then turned to me again. "I don't want anything from you," she said. "Not forgiveness. Not even a relationship. I just wanted you to know that I never stopped thinking about you. That I never stopped being sorry." And then, almost as if she knew she couldn't say more without ruining it, she stood up. "If you ever want to ask me anything, I'm here." She placed a slip of paper on the table. Her number. Then she walked out. I sat there for a long time. The coffee went cold. The notebook stayed unopened. I stared at the number she left, like it was a live wire. And I kept hearing Lena's laugh in my head. The way she says "mama" when she wakes up from a nap. The way I never want her to feel the things I've spent a lifetime unfeeling. After Ian fell asleep, I sat at the kitchen table with the notebook she left behind. I stared at it for a long time before finally opening it. The handwriting was neat but uneven. Pages filled with memories I barely remembered, details about my childhood, moments I'd buried or rewritten. She wrote about my third-grade play, how she'd cried during my solo. About the night I had a fever and she sang to me until morning. Then, later pages, harder ones. She described the fog she lived in, the pills she stopped taking, the voices that whispered lies, the night she left me at the gas station, and how she sat in her car 3 blocks away for nearly an hour paralyzed. She wrote, "I saw you look around for me. I almost came back. But something in me said you'd be better off." I didn't realize I was crying until a drop hit the page. The next morning, I watched Lena play with her blocks in the living room while cartoons played in the background. She looked up at me and smiled, like the world was perfect. And I thought, she will never know this kind of abandonment. Not from me. I called my mom. She picked up after 1 ring. Neither of us spoke at first. I could hear her breathing, waiting. "I read it," I said. A pause. "Okay." I could feel her holding back everything. Relief, panic, hope. "I don't know what this means," I continued, voice tight. "I don't know if I can forgive you. I don't know if I want to." "I understand," she whispered. "I'm not ready to let you in. But I'm not shutting the door either." "Carla," she said softly, "that's more than I ever expected." We didn't talk long. Just a few minutes. A few polite words. No grand reunion. No promises. But something had shifted. That weekend, I sat alone on our balcony while Ian and Lena napped inside. I stared at the slip of paper with her number again. I didn't delete it. I didn't call again either. But I kept it. Just in case. Weeks later, I was folding laundry in the living room when Lena waddled over with a crayon drawing clutched in her tiny hands. She pointed to 2 stick figures holding hands. "Mama," she said, tapping one. Then, she looked at me. "Who's that?" she asked, pointing to the other. I didn't answer right away. I just stared at the 2 stick figures. One had gray hair. I folded the drawing gently and set it on the counter. I wasn't ready to explain yet. Maybe one day.